Most gardeners are stuck in a cycle they don't even realize they're in. Every spring, it's the same routine. Buy seeds, buy transplants, buy fertilizer, buy soil amendments. You plant, you harvest for a few months. Then it's over. And next year, you start from zero again. Same costs, same effort, same subscription you never canceled. That's annual gardening, and it's not evil, it's not a scam. But it is expensive, and over time it quietly keeps people dependent. Today I want to show you why annual gardening keeps you poor, what it really costs over time, and the shift that breaks the cycle. This isn't about quitting tomatoes, it's about building a garden that works for you instead of resetting every single year. Annual crops live fast and die young. Tomatoes, peppers, beans, squash, lettuce. They give you one season of production, then they're gone. And if you want food next year, you pay again. You plant again, you rebuild again. That's fine if gardening is just a hobby. But if your goal is food independence, resilience, or long-term savings, this model never improves. Because nothing carries forward. Every spring, you're back at the starting line. Beds need prep. Soil needs rebuilding. Infrastructure needs replacing. Experience carries forward, but experience doesn't reduce costs. It just makes you faster at repeating the same cycle. Think about any other system in your life. If you buy a car, you maintain it. You don't rebuy it every year. If you build a fence, it stays up. You repair it occasionally, but you don't rebuild it from scratch every spring. But most people treat gardening like a rental, and rentals cost forever. Let's talk real numbers. Plants alone add up fast. Tomato starts are $3 to $5 each. Peppers are the same. Lettuce flats run $12. Add cucumbers, squash, beans, and you're easily at $50 to $100 before you even touch the soil. Now fertilizer. Organic fertilizer runs $20 to $30 a bag. Most gardeners buy 2 or 3 per season. That's another $60 to $90. Add soil amendments, compost, mulch, peat, perlite, another $50 to $100. Add pest control, row covers, netting, sprays. Add water, especially if you're on city supply. Add tools that wear out. Gloves, stakes, cages, trellises. A modest annual garden runs $250 to $300 per year. A larger or more intensive one can hit $500 to $700. Now zoom out. 10 years, $2,500 to $7,000. 20 years, $5,000 to $14,000. And at the end of it, what do you own? No permanent plants. No systems that keep producing. Just another spring where you start over again, and it never gets cheaper. Seed prices rise, fertilizer prices rise, water costs rise, fuel costs rise. The transplants you bought for $3 a few years ago now cost $5. The fertilizer that used to be $20 is now $30. And you can't opt out. If you want tomatoes next year, you're paying next year's prices. You're not building equity, you're renting your food system. And rent always goes up. Here's the part that usually surprises people. Annual gardening doesn't just cost more money. It trains you to accept that constant replacement is normal. When something fails, you don't ask why the system failed. You just replace the plant. You buy another bag. You add another product. Over time, this teaches you to solve structural problems with purchases instead of design. Poor soil? Buy fertilizer? Pests? Buy spray? Weak plants? Buy stronger starts. The system never improves because it's never allowed to. Perennial systems force the opposite behavior. When something struggles, you have to ask deeper questions. Is the soil compacted? Is water reaching the roots? Is there enough organic matter? Is the plant in the right place long term? These questions slow you down, but they also build understanding. And once you start thinking this way, gardening stops feeling like a series of emergencies and starts feeling like a system you actually control. That mental shift is just as important as the financial one, because it's what breaks the habit of constant spending. Now let's talk about what breaks the cycle. Perennials. Perennials are food assets. You plant once and they produce for years, sometimes decades. Asparagus, rhubarb, berry bushes, fruit trees, perennial herbs, walking onions, sorrel, They cost more upfront, but you pay once. Then they keep paying you back. This is the same principle we've talked about with soil systems and fertilizer alternatives. Stop paying repeatedly for the same result. Build once, harvest for years. Let's do the math. 10 asparagus crowns cost about $30 to $50. Year 1, you don't harvest. You let them build roots. Year 2, you harvest lightly. By year 3, they're producing fully. Once mature, 10 plants produce about 10 to 15 pounds of asparagus every year. Asparagus costs $4 to $6 per pound. That's $60 to $90 of food annually. For 20 years or more. $1,200 to $1,800 of food from a one-time $50 investment. And asparagus requires almost no maintenance. Mulch once a year. Let it grow tall after harvest. Cut it back in fall. No replanting, no constant inputs. That's not gardening, that's compounding. Most people never do this because perennials require patience. Annual gardening rewards speed. Plant tomatoes in May, harvest in July. Perennial gardening rewards foresight. Plant asparagus now, harvest for decades. Most people never plant the asparagus because they want tomatoes now. And 5 years later, they're still buying tomatoes and still wishing they had asparagus. If they'd planted it 5 years ago, they'd be harvesting today. The best time to plant perennials was years ago. The second best time is now. This isn't about abandoning annuals, it's about changing what your garden is built on. Year 1. Dedicate 20 to 30% of your garden to perennials. Fill the rest with annuals. You still eat this year, but your future garden is rooting. Year 2. Light perennial harvests, fewer annuals. Year 3. Strong perennial production, lower input costs. By year 5, half or more of your food system comes back on its own. Less planting, less fertilizer, less rebuilding, more food. Annual gardening disturbs soil every year. Plants are pulled out, beds are turned, organic matter burns off, so you keep buying compost to replace what the system destroys. Perennials do the opposite. Roots stay in place. They grow deeper every year, they build soil structure, feed microbes year-round, and recycle nutrients naturally. The soil improves instead of collapsing. That's why perennial systems need less fertilizer. Often none. Garden centers make their money from repeat buyers. Annual gardeners are perfect customers. Every spring, they come back. New seeds, new soil, new fertilizer, new problems to solve. Perennial gardeners are terrible customers. Once your asparagus bed is established, you're not buying crowns again. Once your berry bushes are planted, you're not replacing them every year. Once your fruit trees are in the ground, you stop browsing the transplant rack every spring. Annual gardening is a treadmill. Every spring feels like starting from scratch, and if something goes wrong, frost, pests, drought, you lose everything. Perennials create resilience. If tomatoes fail, asparagus still comes up, rhubarb still produces, berries still fruit. Annual gardening teaches you to think like a renter. Temporary crops, temporary thinking. Perennials force you to think like an owner. Owners build systems that last. Owners invest once and benefit repeatedly. Owners create equity. Annual gardening keeps you paying. Perennial gardening lets you stop. Stop running on the treadmill. Start planting systems that come back on their own.